you guys, what's up? It's Stella with Stella's Knife Obsession. I wanted to talk about a couple of classics, I think, in my eyes. It's the Delica and the Native 5 by Spyderco. I just want to say I love these two knives, and I will tell you why. They're extremely reliable, they have great handles. The pocket clip that comes with them isn't the best, but there are aftermarket clips you can buy, like this one. It's titanium, and I forgot where I got it, but this one is a little loose, so I need to try to fix that. Anyway, it doesn't fall out of my pocket or anything. In most cases, I can just drop it in my pocket because this thing is small enough to where you can just drop it in your pocket. You barely feel the thing. So this is a great carry. It's an easy carry, and it's extremely reliable. Like I said, you can shred boxes with this very thin blade stock. And I mean, this by no means is this knife made for extremely hard use, but you can get away with some hard use things, like some thick cardboard and things like that. Um, I have gotten through many boxes with this thing, and some of them have been thick. There are times where you can feel that the box or whatever you're shredding is going to be a little too thick for this blade, and that's where the Native 5 comes in my eyes. This thing it's got a more robust blade. The swedge right here and the distal taper work beautifully together to form a, a tip that's not going to just break off. But yeah, these two in tandem are a very good carry. And I even consider the Native 5 an easy carry because you barely feel it in your pocket. I mean, I don't. It's got this awesome finger choil. This thing was made for my hand. I just feel like it was made for. And I have actually let people hold this, and I ask people to hold my knives just so I can see what it looks like in other people's hands. I don't know if that's something that's weird about me or what. If that's something that knife people do just to see. But yeah, I usually ask people to hold my knives, even open them up and disengage the lock bar, because I've been disengaging lock bars and liner locks and back locks for a couple of years. So of course it's easy for me, but I want to know how your everyday Joe or Josephine can disengage that lock. I want to know if a person that hasn't been conditioning their hand to work with any type of knife that you lay in it, I want to know if they can do the same thing, if it's easy for them. And that usually will let me know how bad or how hard the lock bar or the jimping on the liner or whatever the case may be. That's what usually lets me know how rough it is, I guess. Because my thumbs are chewed up and I'm so used to it. I have calluses, and it's just, I'm used to it. I'm sure a lot of you knife people out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Even if you're not a knife person and you just carry one every day for 20 years, you still know what I'm talking about because you carry a knife, and that's what I'm talking about. But I wanted to go over something with the Native 5 as well. 1 second though. Okay, I got my 4-inch ruler just to show how small the Native is for a hard use knife. But you can also see, because the Delica is pretty common in the knife world, you can see how small the Native is next to it. That stupid clip is really not working out for me in this. But this is a 4-inch ruler, and that shows you that this is probably, I'm going to say, close to 7 inches. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, probably close to 7 inches. And this is the perfect, and look, it has like a 2 3/4 inch blade, which is nice, but the cutting area that's where, let me look here. So the cutting edge of this knife is 2 1/4 of an inch. 2 1/4 of an inch. And honestly, I think that's enough, to use. I mean, for whatever you need. Unfortunately, in some cases, I do find that the hole does get in the way when you're cutting up a box, and it will stop the whole process that you're doing. And that's the one thing that I would consider just a hindrance, because it in effect, what it does is shorten the cutting area of your blade. And I mean, I can still cut through pretty much anything I need, though, honestly, with the leverage I have with my hand on the handle where it should be. And let's say this is 1.5 inches, or maybe 1 1/4 of an inch. That should be plenty, because if your knife is sharp enough and you get your cut started down here, you should be able to work through it and get through a box. I mean, by the time you have a Spyderco in your hands, I think that you're more than likely going to be a pretty seasoned knife owner. So I just don't see it as a huge problem. Now with the Delica, and I'll hold them both up in my hands so you can see. And we'll do hole to hole, which is pretty much pivot to pivot. And you got the beef on this one here, and then you have the really thin sliciness on this one, really thin stock. I mean, and it's funny, the native is still thin, but it does have that swedge that provides a lot more thicker point. And this one is not for really heavy use. I mean, this is just an EDC. I mean, it's got the perfect amount of, I don't know, blade stock, and the combination of the cutting geometry, blade geometry. But that is one thing with Spyderco. You will get held up on that hole once in a while. But I don't know. I guess that that's all in. If you love a Spyderco, it's not. It's for many reasons. It's a really good build. Every single time you're getting a good quality knife in your hand. And I have one from Seki, Japan, and one from Colorado, which is awesome. I mean, I'm glad that a lot of their knives are made here in the U.S., and I don't mind that some of them are made in Taiwan and Japan, and I believe China. I'm not one of those big weird. I mean, I'm not saying that those people are weird, but I'm not weird about where my knife is made. I don't honestly care. If it's a good knife and it's quality, I will buy it. Like Kaiser is pretty much strictly over in China, but I'm a huge fan of Kaiser knives. They're great knives. Best Tech. They're amazing knives. They make knives for people, and they put out quality that people pay hundreds of dollars for. I don't know if they have thousands of dollar knives, but they pay hundreds of dollars for these knives that they're putting out for people, that are kind of like, like, I guess you could call them mom and pop type of knife makers, or brothers, or whatever. There's quite a few of them here in America, which is great. And I love the fact that we have those things available to us. But my biggest beef with that is that you have to pre-order, and there's only a limited amount. And I feel like I'm never gonna be able to get one of those knives because of that reason. Like, for some reason, I can't think of any of the names right now because I have Spyderco on the brain. I just wanted to go over these two guys, and I wanted to tell you why I carry them both at the same time. I do carry the native for the robust blade, and I do carry the Delica for the very delicate tip and the very slicey thin blade. It's got a wonderful flat grind. They both have a nice flat grind. So a thicker blade with a flat grind kind of helps you out with breaking down really thick boxes. And this blade on the Delica is surprisingly slicey on thick boxes as well. So, and when if you're approaching a box and it's really thick and you find that you need to do like a sawing motion or something like that, that's where maybe you should have a multi-tool in your pocket, you're on your person somewhere. Maybe you have a bag that you carry with you, and you should probably have a little multi-tool. I mean, Tucson puts out a multi-tool with a little saw on it that is amazing. You can cut, some kindling for a fire with it even. I was hoping that I got some of that into a video from my camping trip this season. But yeah, I mean, you can't saw with a blade that's a plain edge blade. And Spyderco puts out a ton of knives with a toothy edge or serrated. So grab yourself one of those with the half serrated or a full serrated edge, because you're going to use it, especially if you work in that environment where you're breaking down boxes all the time. But anyway, my point is just that these are amazing knives. I love the lockback features on these. And the reason I kind of brought it up was because a person I work with said that she loves Spyderco knives, but she hates the fact that they put these back locks on them. And I told her, once you break these knives in, it's so simple. I even fidget with these. I know this native kind of gives me a little problem once in a while. It gets a little caught up, but it's not a big deal. These knives are easy to make function. I mean, and you can trust that lock. I'm glad they don't have a liner lock. Honestly, it just would not fit on this knife because the type of handle, I guess this would be FRN, the type of handle that this is and the very thin liners to keep it lightweight, which I love about these knives. I love them because I can carry both of them, and in one pocket at that, because two of these probably weigh one of my really heavy use knives. Weigh as much as one of my heavy use knives anyway. But the lockback on the Delica has been broken in so much, it is simple to disengage that lock. There's nothing to it. So my friends, don't be afraid to grab yourself a really reliable Spyderco just because it has a lockback. And don't be afraid of this really thin blade stock on the Delica, because the Delica is one of the best EDCs in the world, arguably. I think, in my opinion, the Delica is one of the best knives to carry, hands down, hands down. It's, if you were to have only a couple knives in your life for the rest of your life, I would have to have at least the Delica. Now, I love this backlock. I'm a huge fan of it. So I fidget with it all day at work. But I'm still breaking in the native, and I've had it for almost a year now. But that just goes to show you have a lot of time to get used to your knife and get to know your knife. And this thing will function the way you want it to function in no time. So don't be afraid to use a Delica, and don't be afraid to use the Native 5 with it. I think they're a great pair together. Lockbacks on Spydercos are amazing, really strong, arguably one of the best in the world. Along with Cold Steel and Adam Demko's locks, the Triad and the Shark lock and the Scorpion lock, I think, are the strongest in the world, along with these. But thank you guys. I hope you made it to the end. And you know what? I will see you soon.